Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam.
Radhe Radhe.
Jai Shri Radhe.
Dandavat pranam.
Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Vinodihari Mandir, Shri Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham.
Ki Jai.
Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Rupananda Gauri Guruvarga ki Jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Prem Purushottam Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Radha Vinodihari Ju ki Jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki Jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai. Where's the baby?
We already had this conversation.
Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.
They're napping.
Oh, they're taking a nap. So we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Gucha, Vandeham Shri Guru, D-A-N-D-E-H-A-M, Vandeham. Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahavano, Raghunathan Vikantam Sajivam, Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahavana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vikamshta Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayanithi Namine Shri Krishna Leela Katane Sudarsham Odarya Madhurya Gunashcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shirasham Namami Tridandiram Bhakta Shiromanincha Shri Krishna Pada Jagataika Vidhi Chaitanya Leelamrita Sarasaram Narayanam Tvam Satatam Prapadye Namaham Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaho Vishnupadaya Gaura Preshthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Niti Namine Ati Charitraya Swashrikananchavarine Jivanukhe Sadartaya Shri Nama Premadayine Namaho Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Vaishnavani Devi Dayitaya Kripabhaye Krishna Sambandha Vidyano Darine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jvala Premadhya Shri Rupanu Abhakta Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatale Rupanugamnirudhapo Siddhanta Dvantahārine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya-murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Padambhujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivedanta Satchidananda-namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugamvarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhume Nirdesha Sajanapriya Vaisnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jayakam Surato Pango Mama Mandam Nadirgati Matsarvasvapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyagrindaranya-kalpadumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanastho Shri Shri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishthanidhi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasaramhi Vanshivattatatastitaha Karshannenu Swargopi Gopinath Shri Yesinaha Vrindai Tulasi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya cha Krishna Bhakti Pradede Satya Bhakte Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shabdikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavakti Nirvapanam Sheyakairava-chandrika Vikarnam Vidyavadhum Jeevanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritashvadanam Sarvatma Sapadam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Eva Kevalam Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyaka Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Gurudev Khabar Mon.
Say dina hobe.
Yeah. You do it.
Didn't you learn the other?
Which one?
The other one. Boro kripa kore? Or are you trying to learn the Kari more?
Khabar Mon.
Okay.
Page 34, Gurudev Khabar Mon.
Say dina hobe.
Kabemora. Gurudev Khabar Mon. Vaisnava Thakur, Thakura. And for those of you who don't have a songbook or a Gaudiya app, if you keep scrolling down, you'll find that Jiva Pavana Prabhu is always adding the lyrics to each bhajan, and if you search very carefully, sometimes you'll find added nectar there that he is boasting. So always scroll down. Thank you, Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Dandavad.
Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Shava Edase Karuna Kori Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Shava Edase Karuna Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagaram Edase Karuna Kori দেহ হে আমারে বসেছি সঙ্গের আসে ছায়া সাতা সঙ্গ দেহ হে আমারে বসেছি সঙ্গের আসে একাকী আমার নাহি পায় হরি নাম সংকীর্তনে একাকী আমার ও তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ভজে তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া ও কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমার শাপতি আছে আমি তো কঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি ভাই তো পাছে পাছে আমি তো কঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি ভাই তো পাছে পাছে আমি তো কঙ্গাল ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর ও প্রভু কৃপা করো রে দয়া করো প্রভু কৃপা করো রে দয়া করো Nitai Gunamaryama.
Page number 61. Starts with Nitai, N-I-T-A-I, Guna, G-U-N-A, money, M-A-N-I. Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Vishwambara. Bande. Vishwambara.
Page 339.
339. Jaya Jaya Sundar Nanda Kumar, page 344. Jaya Jaya, 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 Sundara, Sundara, 344. Shri Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraja Munindra Vrinda Vandite Triloka Shokaharini, starting with Munindra, page.
Subi. Subi the page teller.
Page 285. 285.
285.
285?
All together now.
Bhagavatamrita
Jaya Radha
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna How's the connection? Is it working?
The connection seems good.
Gurve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tagale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nangayate Girim Yat Kripatamham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranams thousands of times at the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaja. And the same thousands of Dandava Pranam at the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And to all of our Rupan Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranam to all Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, my Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
So I'd like to start today by making an apology. Yesterday, in haste, I said something which created and could also have created some confusion. Because we were speaking about the subject of Harinam Prabhu and exclusivity in bhakti, when the subject came up at the very end of doing the kirtan for the benefit of Chitra Dasi, who had recently departed from this world, I was giving an example from Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj about utilizing something in bhakti for the benefit of someone's progress in bhakti and how that can be included in bhakti. And I didn't realize it, but my urge to speak and my brain made a twist, and I said, in this case, I used these words, in this case, thinking about my class, but it seemed that I was applying it to Chitradasi. And I mentioned, in connection with Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, the word suicide. That someone can offer their Ekadashi for the benefit of someone who committed suicide. But I'm sorry if anyone misunderstood that I was applying that to Chitradasi. I was not. She had a very long illness, which eventually resulted in her natural departure from this world. So please forgive me if I have somehow inadvertently caused you to believe or even to question that. That was not my intention. I'm a conditioned soul. The tendency of conditioned souls is to make mistakes. So I have made a blunder, not intentionally, that was not the mood of my heart, but somehow it came across that way, so please forgive me. And we can pray for Chitradasi's continued forward progress. Sri Chitradasi ki jai. May Sri Gurudev, may the Vaishnavas, may Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Radha and Krishna bless her and her family, that may they all develop pure Krishna Bhakti. So now, I'm going to continue with going beyond Vaikuntha. Actually, I'm not going to be using this. I might be able to see here also. If anyone is asking any questions, please just bear with me one moment.
No one's asking any questions.
No, from yesterday or anything. So before entering into this book, Sri Beyond Vaikuntha, we should understand that it is no ordinary book. The words of the pure devotees, the vision of the pure devotees, because they are tattvadarshi, tattvagya, they are knowers and seers of the truth. If we see Bhagavad Gita, what is Bhagavad Gita? It has been confirmed, acknowledged and recognized by all pure Vaishnavas as truth. Those whose practice is impeccable and who are constantly absorbed in serving the Lord 24 hours a day without deviation. Those personalities have all acknowledged Bhagavad Gita. They have all acknowledged Srimad Bhagavatam. They have all acknowledged Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And they have acknowledged the works of our Goswamis. We see in Bhagavad Gita, actually who is writing Bhagavad Gita? Ganesh is writing it. Who is dictating? Vyasadeva is dictating. What is he dictating? Because he's all-knowing and all-seeing, he is seeing that Dhritarashtra, the blind father of Duryodhana, is asking his court minister Sanjay, what do you see? What do you know? Can you tell me? And Sanjay, through his divine vision, is able to witness everything that is going on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so he's speaking to Dhritarashtra. He's saying, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Dhritarashtra Maharaj asked this question. So Sanjay began to explain. And of course we have from that Bhagavad Gita. So Sanjay is seeing with his divine darshan what Krishna is speaking to Arjuna and what Arjuna is speaking to Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and revealing it to Dhritarashtra. And Vedvyas, he's Krishna Dvaipai and Vedvyas, Krishna himself, so he is of course all-knowing. He is manifested as this Vyasadeva. He is witnessing what Sanjaya is witnessing in darshan. And then he is dictating it to Ganesh and Ganesh is writing it down. Same with Srimad Bhagavatam, similar. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? We know the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Vedvyas had compiled the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Vedas. He had compiled everything and presented it to this world, but still he was feeling dissatisfied in his heart. This is all told in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Feeling dissatisfied in his heart, when any sincere disciple is calling out, searching for truth, Sri Guru manifests to them. So his Gurudev, Sri Narad Muni, manifested to him and told him, detected what was wrong in his process, why he was feeling dissatisfied in his heart. Why? Because he had presented to this world everything about dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Means religiosity, general religiosity, dharma, artha. Artha means economic development. Kama means sense gratification. And moksha means liberation or freedom from suffering. So he had presented to the world everything about these four things, but Sri Narad Muni told him, you have failed to tell people about bhakti, about the sweet pastimes of Krishna with his devotees. And because of this, you are feeling dissatisfied in your heart. So you should meditate deeply on the sweet pastimes of Krishna. And then what you see in your darshan, you should reveal this to the world. So Vyasadeva entered a deep state of trance, known as samadhi. Samadhi, sama means equal and dhi means consciousness. So he entered into a deep state of trance known as samadhi, where his consciousness attained the equal state of consciousness of the absolute truth. And what he witnessed in that divine absolute truth, he spoke. And this is known as Srimad Bhagavatam, Samadhi Bhasha, or the language of divine connection. Samadhi, the language of divine connection. It is, you can say that because he is Krishna, he saw it, but also by the mercy of his Gurudev, he was able to witness all of this. Except for the Dasham Skanda Ras Leela pastimes, our Gurudev explained, there's a place about halfway around Parikrama Marg in Vrindavan. It's known as Vyasakup. And our Gurudev explained that for the pastimes, the Rasa Leela pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam to be manifested, Vyasadeva took shelter in that place, which is just very close to the Ras Mandal, and from there he was able to witness these beautiful pastimes and reveal these pastimes to the world. So this is also a transcendental and divine revelation. But these revelations, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explained, are only accepted when many Mahabhagavats all concur and confirm that this is divine and transcendental. So what we have here, these are the words of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. His Rasik and Bhavuk explanation of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Sri Sanatan Goswami. And all great personalities, all Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas have confirmed that what Sanatan Goswami is seeing in his eternal vision is non-different from Shastra. It is transcendental and it is divine, and they have all accepted it as such across the board, all Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas. One thing we find that's very interesting is that it is extremely rare, unless there's a direct instruction from the Supreme Lord, that we find that anyone is creating any new literature. We have not seen our Gurudev create any new literature. He's only commenting and giving other Mahabhagavats commentaries on the literatures which have been accepted by all Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas. He's not creating any new literature. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has not created any new literature. He has written commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, on Bhagavad Gita, on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, based on the commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And his commentary is also full of elucidation based on all of these commentaries. So he's not making any new scripture, but he's giving enhancement, understanding, and appreciation of these scriptures. We have seen that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, the Supreme Lord, has directed Rupa Goswami and given blessings to him, had all of the Vaishnavas bless him, that he should manifest, and I'm using the word manifest, not create, manifest transcendental literatures. So who have we seen that have done this? We've seen Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Rupa Goswami, all of these divine personalities who were blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we've also seen this in the Saptam Goswami, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu. He wrote the words of Govinda Dev himself, Krishna himself, in the form of his commentary on Vedanta Sutra known as Govinda Bhashya. So it is not that these divine revelations do not come through. Once or twice we have heard our Gurudev say, "It has not been written, but anyhow I will tell." Once or twice, some little katha here or there. But generally, we find that our Guru Varga very, very strongly stick to what the previous acharyas have given. And if any new commentary must be made, or any new literature must be manifested, then this is generally done underneath the guidance of, like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, how he composed Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was under the guidance of Raghunath Das Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Murari Gupta. He had received their notes and everything was in line, and he gave so much Shastra to back up what he was telling. So also all great Vaishnavas, they accepted and honored and respected this transcendental literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, as authentic, transcendental and pure. And Vrindavan Das Thakur's, of course, he was mentioning the Leelas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We know that Valmiki, after 60,000 years of intense austerities or longer, was able to witness all of the divine pastimes of Sri Ramchandra and manifested Sri Ramayana. So all of our transcendental literatures are divine manifestations. They are Shabda Brahma. They are manifesting from the transcendent realm through the medium of the pure devotee. But we should be careful that only those literatures which are accepted by all Mahabhagavats means those persons who are transcendental, whose characters are impeccable, who have acknowledged and accepted that this is transcendental and divine. They are also presenting this. When all Mahabhagavats are presenting, then we accept. Otherwise, we should be very, very careful. Because anyone can compose a literature. I mean, there are really good writers out there with great imagination, and they can write about anything. And so we should be careful not to just blindly accept anything, but we should accept what our Guru Varga have accepted. This is important for us if we want to be able to move on the path of bhakti, that we don't just accept anything, otherwise we can become lost very easily. So this book is our Gurudev's commentary, based on the commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, all of our Guru Varga, his own Gurudev, all of their commentaries on the authentic literature, which is the source of all of the books of the Goswamis, known as Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the divine revelation of Sri Sanatan Goswami, who is none other than a maidservant of Srimati Radhika in transcendental Vrindavan and an intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sanatan Goswami is Lavanga Manjari. Right? Yes. So, do you remember Rupa Manjari, Lavanga Manjari? Rati Manjari?
Rati is Raghunath.
Raghunath Das Goswami, Rati. Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari. So these are divine personalities who are always serving Radha and Krishna within the Nikunjas of Vrindavan and always serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we give them that respect, that honor, that place of preference. And their literatures are also considered non-different from Shastra. Did you want to add something?
No.
Okay. So before entering into this book, we will offer the prayer from Sri Raghunath Das Goswami to Sri Sanatan Goswami, begging for his mercy, saying how he gave him the nectar laced with renunciation, although he was unwilling to accept it. But yet this nectar laced with renunciation is really the nectar by which one automatically renounces all lesser things, because that nectar is so wonderful and so sweet. Vairaga juga bhakti rasam prayatna apayanam mamanu bhikshamandam kripambudirya paraduka duki sanatanaspam prabhumashrayami. Praying in the dust of the lotus feet of our Srila Gurudev, the commentator, and Sri Sanatan Goswami, the compiler, the Tattvadarshi, both are Tattvadarshis, may even a particle of their moods, which are present within these pages, manifest within our hearts. Okay.
Do you want the iPad?
No,
Because you can see continuously here.
it's on. I'm just seeing if there's any questions so far. Okay. So now we're continuing with going beyond Vaikuntha. And we have come just to the point of Mahamina, the great fish incarnation, Matsya Avatar. So now Gurudev is telling, after Markandeya Rishi had been performing austerities for a long time, one day he was bathing in the Ganga and a small fish came into his begging bowl, Kamandalu. This is interesting. Markandeya Rishi. Okay. He took it home and then the fish said, "O sage, I have come into your Kamandalu." Kamandalu is a small container that saints and sannyasis carry for pouring water. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can read in this bhajan, Ujjvala Varana Gora Varadeham, Kamandalu Dandam. He was carrying a kamandalu and a danda. So this fish said to him, O sage, I have come into your kamandalu, but there is no space for me here. Please place me in a larger body of water. Then Markandeya looked and saw that really the fish had become larger. So the fish inside this kamandalu began growing very quickly. So he placed the fish in a small pond. But after some time the fish came to him in a dream and said, O sage, now I am so big, I can no longer stay in this pond. So Markandeya lifted the fish out and placed him in the river. But the fish again enlarged in the river and said, Here also I cannot stay. Please place me in the ocean. By his yogic power, Markandeya placed the fish in the ocean. Then he saw in the dream that there was to be a causal dissolution, like the one at the end of Brahma's day. So at the end of every day of Brahma, there's a partial devastation or causal dissolution. Partial devastation which comes in the form of a great flood, which floods the universe. And everything becomes submerged. And then again, that's the end of every day of Brahma. And then again, there's a resurgence of everything. And then at the end of Brahma's life, there's a complete devastation. And that is the time where the Tandav Nritya takes place, the dance of destruction, Lord Shiva and all of his Rudras. And by that, the entire universe is consumed with fire. And everything burns apart, all material energy and everything. And then it merges back into the body of Mahavishnu in sequence. So there's a partial devastation at the end of the day of Brahma, every single day. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna appear once in a day of Brahma. And at the end of his day, which is 8,640,000,000 years, at the end of his day, there is a partial flood devastation. The final dissolution comes at the end of Brahma's 100 years. But this and the one that comes at the end of his day can both be called Nitya Pralay. Nitya Pralay means eternal devastation. Both of them can be called that because they happen repeatedly. So the fish said, The water will be rising and I will come to you. You must collect seeds of all the things in this world. These days there's so many stories which are written which have this same kind of concept. But this has been spoken about eternally. This is the pastime of Matsya Avatar. In this case we hear it's about Markandeya Rishi, but we've also heard a similar story with someone named Satyavrat Muni. So it might be in different kalpas, in different days of Brahma, the same pastime might happen but with different personalities. In this case, it is Markandeya Rishi. So the water will be rising, and I will come to you. You must collect seeds of all things of this world, vegetable seeds, a mango seed, mustard seed, everything. Then you must collect 2 of each species of bird and animal and be ready to attach a strong boat to me in the morning when I arrive. So we've also heard of the story of Noah. It's the same. A boat's there's a global devastation, hair of everything, seeds of everything. Something must be rescued. And so this history, even before it was written down over 5,000 years ago by Ganesh, which is in Srimad Bhagavatam, even before that it was written in the Puranas and all other scriptures. But what was written down, this came much later. Previously everything was transmitted by Shruti and Smriti. Shruti means what was spoken by the Guru, and Smriti means what is remembered by the disciple. And because people were not performing so many simple activities by which intelligence, remembrance, capacity of the mind, memory, and all of these things could be maintained. Now, in Kali Yuga, What does Srimad Bhagavatam say? Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrataha. That we live shorter lives. Our intelligence is less. Our memory is less. Our duration of life is less. Because of so many simple activities. But in previous ages, people were very, very dharmic. And they did tapasya, intense austerity. They served the Lord. And they understood the benefits of all of these things. So more in Dwapara Yuga, more than that in Treta Yuga, and more than that, much more than that in Satya Yuga. The process of serving the Lord and attaining perfection in Satya Yuga was dhyan. Kriteya dhyayato Vishnu. Meditation. Sitting in one place, completely controlled, and meditating on the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. These days it's practically impossible to be like that. Right? We're sitting here, trying to meditate, and then Facebook, ding, and then you look down, oh, look at that, oh, my friend sent me a kitchen video, and then for like an hour, you realize an hour has gone by, and you became distracted watching kitten videos and going into the next and the next and the next, and you think, wow, where did my intelligence go? Where did my mind go? Where did my time go? In those days, they didn't have that problem. They were able to be completely internal and meditating deeply. The next age was Treta Yuga, Tretayam Yajato Makai. Srimad Bhagavatam says in Treta Yuga, the process for pleasing the Lord was yajna. And in those yajnas, you also had to do intense austerity and practice to get everything perfect. Because if even one word was spoken out of place or wrongly, like I did yesterday, but if even one word was spoken wrongly, then the entire yajna would have to be rejected and then started over from scratch. But these yajnas were extremely expensive. So this was the process of pleasing the Lord in Treta Yuga. Then Dwapara Yuga, Dwapare Paricharyayam, is the worship of the Lord, the deity form of the Lord in the temple. This is the process in Dwapara Yuga. And Gurudev said something of that still remains now. But after some time, it will also be gone. But also to worship the deity form of the Lord in the temple. How many persons, I mean, we look even 100 years ago, 500 years ago, how deeply religious, how dharmic were people. Today I read something from Govinda Dasi, one of Prabhupada's first disciples, and she said that once she was sitting in front of him, and he would sometimes just say things out of the blue. And he said this, Varna Shankara, it means unwanted population, means the population that manifests out of pure lust, but they weren't really wanted, it wasn't intentional, just children came as a result. He said this Varna Shankar will take the whole world to hell. And that's why Mahabharata war was fought. Because there was so much of that, even at the end of Dwapara Yuga, what to speak of now. Kali Yuga is a very interesting time. So, this Dwapara Yuga, the process was worshipping the Lord in the temple, the deity form of the Lord. And still so much tapasya, so much cleanliness, following all the rules and regulations of scriptures was necessary to do this. So there was so much honor and adherence to proper etiquette and dharma. In Kali Yuga, we know that it's an ocean of faults, but there's one amazing quality. Kale doshani jay rajan, O Raj, O King, this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Asti hyego mahadguna. But there's one amazing quality of this Kali Yuga. What is that? Kirtanar eva Krishnasya. Simply by doing kirtan of Krishna, mukta sangha, param rajed. One can easily be liberated and attain the highest goal. Param rajed, the highest destination. So we see in all of these different ages, there's different capacities. In Kali Yuga, we cannot meditate like that, like Satya Yuga. We cannot do yajnas like in Treta Yuga. We can't even have the same quality of worship of the deity in the temple that they did in Dwapara Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, the same benefit, even more benefit, can come simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna under the guidance of pure Vaishnavas in Sadhu Sangha. simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna. So it's such an amazingly beneficial time that even demigods are waiting to take birth at this time, to take benefit, to receive the benefit of what is being offered. But we're not able to do all of those other things. So why kirtan? Because when you're absorbed in kirtan, chanting the names of the Lord, dancing, playing musical instruments, if someone is sitting there trying to meditate and another group is right next to him doing kirtan, Gurudev spoke this, the person who's trying to meditate, his mind will be in the kirtan. How powerful is kirtan? It engages all of one's senses completely. Chanting loudly, dancing, their arms, their leg, their bodies, their mind, everything must be captured in that kirtan. So how powerful is kirtan? But to do all of these other things, we don't have the capacity to do it purely. So we've been given the most easy, most beneficial process. So coming back to the katha, this fish was telling him, collect everything. Collect seeds of everything. Collect at least 2 of every species, means male and female, of birds, of animals, of everything. Collect 2. And be ready to attach a strong boat to me in the morning when I arrive. So I was just mentioning that in the past, the process was Shruti and Smriti. Shruti means hearing and Smriti means remembering. There was no need to write anything down because of the great yogic powers that came from being so dharmic, from following scripture and from serving the Lord. So intelligence, capacity and memory was so great that what was passed down through shabda, through sound vibration, was able to be handed down without any adulteration. Eventually some adulteration came. Krishna tells Arjuna in the beginning, Evam parampara praptam, this parampara is eternal, but after some time something became lost. So I again am telling you this imperishable science. I am telling to you directly because it became lost over time. So Krishna himself came and re-established this transcendental knowledge. So we have heard this story is written down in Bhagavatam, but Bhagavatam is eternal and transcendental. Vyasadeva didn't write it exactly, he witnessed it. And what manifested in his heart, then he spoke, and Ganesh wrote it down. But these pastimes, Matsya Avatar's pastime, is there in Satya Yuga. In every day of Brahma, there is devastation. So this is happening cyclically, again and again and again. So the history of so many of these stories, the stories of Noah's Ark and all of that, the history of this is actually eternal. And it's coming from the Lord himself. This history of the universal flood and making a giant boat that can house each of the species, or 2 of each of the species, and all of the seeds and everything. This is something which is not a new thing. It is not some story from 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. It is happening again and again in every day of Brahma. During the night, Markandeya made an arrangement. He made a strong boat with a rope attached to it and placed the seeds of all species of life in it. When he was ready, he saw that the entire universe was being flooded with flowing water and nothing could be seen. The entire universe. It's not just the Earth planet. The entire universe floods. That means thousands and millions and billions of planets. This is no ordinary flood. But apparently everything needs to be cleaned once in a day of Brahma. Nothing could be seen. The water was slowly rising and gradually covered all of the high places. The fish, that fish, had assumed a massive form with 2 horns. And he said, "Bind the boat to my horns." The sage did so. Does anyone know how he bound the boat to the horns of this fish? In Srimad Bhagavatam, this story is told that by using the giant snake god named Vasuki, He was able to bind the mast of the boat to the horns of this fish incarnation, Matsya Avatar or Mahamina. Here he's being called Mahamina or Mina Avatar. Bind the boat to my horns. The sage did so, and Mahamina took everyone away on the water. So this flood was massive and violent, and this fish was able to help navigate this boat safely. This dissolution lasts for one whole night of Brahma. So Brahma's day is for him 1 day, but for us it is 8,640,000,000 years. Half of that is the night of Brahma. The night of Brahma, that is the dissolution of the material universe in that flood. That great flood happens during the night of Brahma, and then when he wakes up, everything springs up again. So half of 8,640,000,000 years is 4,320,000,000 years. That's his day, and his night is the other. Same. The sage went without eating or drinking the entire time, and he could not find a place to take some rest. So this is also interesting. He went without eating or drinking. But because he's a very powerful sage, Markandeya Rishi is like living eternally. We see him in so many different pastimes of the Lord. So he can manage to last for such a long time without eating or drinking. And we've seen even at Satyayug when Hiranyakashipu did great austerities for 100,000 years. It's 1,000 or I think it's 100 celestial years. On the tips of his toes, without eating or drinking, standing on the tips of his toes with his arms stretched up high in the air. He wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, and then a great anthill formed over his body, Hiranyakashipu. And those ants ate everything, and all that was left were his bones. But he was able to keep his pran, his life, within his bones. These days, we require a heart and a brain and so many other organs to keep our life. But that soul, the life, he was able to keep it within the bones. And then when Brahma came and sprinkled water on him, after so long, not eating or drinking or anything, one from Brahma's kamandalu, then he manifested with the most amazing, strong, powerful, chiseled, beautiful form, full and stout. So here we see Markandeya Rishi for the entire night time, duration of the night of Brahma, has not been eating, has not been drinking. And he couldn't find a place to take some rest, so he also didn't sleep. Thinking, what kind of life is this? He was very unhappy. So a lot of us are also experiencing something like this. It's called lockdown. We're trapped in our homes, we're not able to go out, we're not really able to move around freely, and we see what has happened to the world, the kind of insanity that happens when the idle mind becomes the devil's workshop. We're sitting, and we become antsy. We need to move, we need to be active, and just being stranded or stuck in one place, it can become very difficult, and so many people are thinking, what kind of life is this? I'd rather be out partying and having fun and living life and die early from coronavirus or whatever than to be trapped in a situation like this. So many people are experiencing sadness or depression or so many other problems because of this. One of the reasons is we may not be taking shelter of Sri Harinam Prabhu, taking shelter of the instructions of Sri Guru. If one follows that path, then they can see any situation as being completely wonderful, blissful, and favorable. But if we're not following that process, then becoming unsettled in our heart, so many distresses will come due to the adi-atmic, adi-bautic, and adi-daivic miseries that we live in. If we live in Krishna Sansar, then any situation can be considered favorable. If we live in Maya Sansar, then every situation can be considered unfavorable. So Markandeya Rishi was thinking, what kind of life is this? He was very unhappy. Eventually, they arrived at Prayag. There, Markandeya could only see a banyan tree and nothing else. So only a banyan tree was poking out, could not see anything else. At the top of the tree, there was only one leaf, where Bhattashai Vishnu was sleeping. Bhattashai. So, Shai means sleeping and Bhat means tree. Who's sleeping in the tree? Bhattashai Vishnu was sleeping and performing the pastime of sucking on his toe. So he wasn't looking like Vishnu, he looked like baby Krishna. We've all seen this. I always loved this pastime. Baby Krishna on this leaf sucking on his own toe. He looked toward the sage very mercifully and consoled him and transmitted Shakti into him. He made an arrangement for the sage's sustenance and then said, "In a few days this will all be over and you will again become a progenitor, Prajapati. And from Brahma, all creation will again take place." So this was some kind of assurance that this Bhattashai Vishnu, baby Krishna sucking on his toe, gave within the heart of Markandeya Rishi. He gave him some kind of assurance. In the same way as Brahma himself, when he realized his existence, he was alone in this world. He manifested on top of this lotus flower which came from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. The Mahavishnu manifests all of the universes. Within each universe, half of it is filled with water, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is lying on an Antashesh on this water, and from his navel manifests a lotus flower, and from that manifests Lord Brahma. But still, when Brahma realized his existence, became somewhat self-aware, he only saw darkness all around, and immediately some fear settled in his heart. And then he began to feel this fear. At that moment, he heard something, a divine voice from inside telling him, "Tappa, tappa." And he understood that that meant to do austerity, to meditate. So he went internal and began to meditate. And from that, he became more self-aware. And in another instance, we've heard that this Brahma became initiated by the kling shabda of Krishna's flute, the sound vibration of Krishna's flute in the form of kling. And this kling manifested everything. It manifested Kama Gayatri to him within his heart. This shabda, this sound vibration from Krishna's flute. So Brahma was feeling unsettled, and then he was given assurance by the Lord himself in the form of this sound vibration, tappa. From tap, he was able to do austerity, and then from the sound vibration of Krishna's flute, from that he received the power to create everything in creation and fulfill his duty. So here, this Bhattashaya Vishnu, baby Krishna, who's sucking his toe, manifested within the heart of Markandeya Rishi, that in a few days all of this will be over. You can again become a progenitor, Prajapati, and from Brahma all creation will again take place. This is one Meena avatar. Meena means fish. Keshava Dritta, Meena Sharira, Jai Jagadisha Hare. This Meena incarnation resides in Vaikuntha. He has his own planet, eternally. And when the necessity arises, he comes to this world. His tattva is non-different from Narayan. His pastimes are variegated, are different, but in tattva, in truth, they are one. One second, what's the time? Okay. Another Meena incarnation, another giant fish incarnation, protected the Vedas. The demons had stolen the Vedas and thrown them into the water of the dissolution, and the Vedas had disappeared. So the demons stole them and threw them into the great flood, and the Vedas disappeared. The tendency of demons is to be greatly destructive, and now also we see that the Vedic scriptures are slowly disappearing. If people don't respect them, what will happen? They will disappear slowly. So we see this is also due to the nature and association with those of a demonic temperament. What is that? Those who distract our minds from service to Krishna. Those who distract our minds from service to Sri Guru and Vaishnavas. Those who pull us away from anything related to Sanatan Dharma. This is considered, according to Shastra, I mean, we think demons must look like some goblin or something with sharp teeth, but not all demons look like that. Hiranyakashipu was a great, great demon. But when you read about him, how beautiful he was, how strong he was, how chiseled. I mean, he was like steel, even the thunderbolt of Indra could not penetrate. And he was so brilliant, shining, effulgent, and handsome. When you read the description of Hiranyakashipu in Srimad Bhagavatam, he's like every young lady's crush. He's amazing. So we shouldn't think that demons are just horrible, ugly goblins. But what is their nature? They're against devotion to Krishna. They want to destroy bhakti and they want to destroy Vishnu or Krishna. And one of the ways to do that is to gradually eliminate Sanatan Dharma and in its place put all kinds of nonsense. So this world right now is flooded with all kinds of nonsense which distract even devotees. And everyone can feel their own pulse and know who we are. How much we are distracted by this nonsense, that nonsense, this nonsense. How much of our time goes to anything which is not related to Krishna, where our minds are pulled away from Krishna Seva, from Guru Seva, from Vaishnava Seva, from anything to do with bhakti. And then we can understand what is considered favorable and what is considered unfavorable. And then we can check ourselves. How much time in my life am I devoting to those activities which are unfavorable versus those which are actually favorable? I mean, there are some people who have told me that the only thing that they do that's devotional in their life is literally like a quote about Gurudeva or Vaishnavas. But at least they do that much. They like it. And the rest of their day is completely absorbed in anything mundane. So it's a good start. At least there's appreciation. But Gurudeva would always say we should always try to increase. For some people, he would start them at 32 rounds and say you should increase from there. For others who are not as strong, he would start them at 16 and say, but increase from there. Others who may be very young, quite young, he would tell them 4, but increase from there. Try to come to 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. He said 16 rounds is not enough to help this crazy mind, to stop it from being distracted by all of the nonsense out there. Really, if you want to help yourself become not distracted by all of the nonsense in the material world, then he said 64 minimum. So this is something that we can aspire for, 64 minimum. And if one takes shelter of the process of chanting and really endeavors to chant 64, I can guarantee you within a very short time, either 1 week or 2 or 3, complete revolution will take place in your lives that you could have never ever expected. Amazing, amazing things can happen in your life and in your relationship with Gurudev, in your relationship with Harinam Prabhu, in your understanding of Shastra. So many amazing things can happen in your devotion. But that chanting must also be done under guidance, with a humble mood. Not that, hey Prabhu, guess how much I'm chanting? What, you're only chanting 4? I'm chanting 64, and sometimes I do more. We've seen this also. If you use it for collecting money, collecting kamini, material sense gratification, or all kinds of lustful activities, or pratishta, name, fame, position, adoration, power, this is not really properly chanting. Srila Gurudev explained in this connection. In Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam, chapter 2, I believe it is, when he's quoting the verse, Dharma svanushtita pumsam vishvakshena katasya notpadaya jariritim shram eva hi kevalam. That all of the activities that a person performs, all of the activities that one does in this world, if it does not bring about a rati or an attraction for hearing the glories of Krishna from the lips of the pure devotees, then it is all considered hard, useless labor. Vishvaksena Kata Suya. Vishvaksena. Vishvaksena means the Supreme Lord, and Kata means his Hari Kata. Notpade Jariratim. If it does not bring about this rati, attraction, for hearing this Kata, then Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's considered hard, useless labor. And then our Gurudev went as far as to say, even chanting lakhs and lakhs of Harinam and worshipping thousands of Shalagram Shila. What is the purpose? What am I doing? What is my intention? If I'm just doing lakhs and lakhs of Nam Aparad, or worshipping Shalagram Shila but for fulfillment of material desires, this won't bring about rati, attraction for hearing Harikatha. If I'm chanting lakhs and lakhs of Harinam, the result of that should be that an intense desire for hearing Harikatha should manifest in my heart. And if that does not happen, then I should understand that there's some problem, Gurudev would say loop and hole, in my practice. There's a hole in my practice, a hole in the boat, everything's coming out. The water's leaking. Water's coming into my boat. But you could say there's a hole in my pot. If there's a hole in your pot, all the liquid leaks out, and you're looking, hey, where did it go? What happened? So we should understand there are certain symptoms which should manifest if we're actually performing the activities of bhakti properly. This one for sure, attraction for hearing the glories of Krishna should manifest in our hearts. This one should be there for sure. Otherwise we should know there's something wrong with my practice. And then, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyasha Vairagyam Jnanam Chaya Rahoitukam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. By the practice of Bhakti Yoga, which means loving service for the happiness, the pleasure, the benefit of Krishna, the Supreme, Vasudeva Bhagavati. If we are actually engaging in proper Bhakti Yoga, then two things should manifest. Jnanam cha Vairagyam. Jnanam means transcendental knowledge should manifest in our hearts, by which natural detachment, vairagya, for the material things of this world will also manifest in our heart. Detachment, even repulsion, but I will say detachment. These are the two things. And ahoitukam means spontaneous, natural, spontaneous attraction, knowledge, transcendental knowledge, divyam jnanam hriday prakashita, divine knowledge will manifest in our heart. Manifest, hriday prakash, means manifest in our heart. And vairagyam. So we can also look at vairagyam meaning that the attraction to Krishna will be so great, will be so focused and so specialized that naturally we will have no attraction to the material world or any of the workings of this material world whatsoever. This is also a meaning of vairagya. So this is symptomatic of following the process of bhakti properly. So Gurudev was talking about the demons. That the demon's nature, Krishna speaks about the nature of demons. The demon's nature is, he calls it demonic nature. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. If anyone is assisting me in my efforts, then I will give them so much mercy. If anyone is against me, I will destroy them. So many symptoms of demonic nature. And the divine nature is very different. Divine nature is peaceful, shanti, clean, mild, affectionate, kind. So there's divine and demonic natures. Krishna speaks about them very clearly in Bhagavad Gita. But the demon's nature is gradually to remove dharma, Sanatan dharma, and to replace it with Vishayi dharma. Means the function of being the enjoyer. That I want to be the center. I want to enjoy. You should enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And how is that being promoted to us at this time? We were having this conversation earlier. Previously, people had so much dignity, respect, honor, trust. But nowadays, because all kinds of nonsense are being bombarded at us constantly through our mobile phones, through our televisions, through advertisements, through anything, then it inspires within the heart desire for wealth, because now instead of God being the main focus of this world, money has become the main focus. And what do you do with your money? Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft bed. Srila Prabhupada explains soft bed doesn't mean soft bed, it means the pleasures of the flesh. So enjoying soft bodies. So Hiranya Kashipu, this is the nature. I want wealth, I want sensual satisfaction, sensual enjoyment, fulfillment of my material desires. I want position, name, fame, power, and all of these things. This is the result of all of the bombardment, because they're saying, you want this, this will make you happy, this will make you successful. And don't you ever forget that. If you look at how Hiranyakashipu was speaking to Prahlad, how he was speaking to Prahlad. Prahlad was telling him about Krishna conscious things, and Hiranyakashipu was telling him about material things, and then Prahlad tried to question him on that, and Hiranyakashipu was like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just trying to learn how to cheat and steal and take advantage of others for your own benefit and your own well-being? It sounds perfect, it sounds great. We grew up listening every night to these kathas. They put the cassette on, and then we went to sleep hearing the pastimes of Lord Nrsimhadev. And Hiranyakashipu was like, what's wrong with that? That sounds perfectly complete. This desire to be the supreme enjoyer in this material world. So this is the demonic nature, and it is being impressed upon us constantly. It's called samskar. Impressions are being made. And if we choose to associate with those impressions, impressions are very difficult to remove. Srila Gurudev explained impression or samskar like a rope lowering a pot into a well over many, many years. Even if you have bricks or stone on the outside, still over years you will find that this very soft rope has made a very deep, permanent impression, a groove in that stone, which is very difficult to erase, to remove. So these impressions, mundane impressions, they come and they sit deep within our hearts. And then we find ourselves later on, or even now in our practice on the path of bhakti, feeling like, what's happened to me? What's happened to me? It's because I'm actually adding more mundane impressions than spiritual impressions in my life. I'm not endeavoring to give up the mundane. I'm accepting a little bit of the spiritual, but I'm really overpowering myself with the mundane. And then I wonder, after 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, why I'm still stuck in the muck. I haven't even left the pit of sewage that I was in when I first started chanting. Why am I still here? It's because I haven't really made endeavor to give that thing up, to give up that sewage. Gurudev said, he said, we're like pigs wallowing in a pit of sewage. And he said, come on, come on. I will take you. You can bathe in nectar. You can drink nectar. You're made to taste this. You should leave that behind. And he said, but you don't want to leave it. We have this kind of condition. We're so attached to that. We become accustomed to that. So really it's imperative for us to take shelter of Sri Guru, place ourselves into the rehab program of Guru. And that rehab means Guru will cause us to eventually starve of that and instead take Krishna. Take Krishna samsara. Interesting. Take Krishna. We chant in this prayer, O He Vaisnava Thakur. O Vaishnava Thakur, Krishna se tomar. Krishna is yours. Krishna dite paro. You can give Krishna. Tomara Shakti Ache. This is within your power. You have the power to give Krishna. Amito Kangal. I am just a beggar. And then comes the interesting part. Krishna Krishna Boli. Dhai Taba Pache Pache. Now it's been translated as, we are saying, Krishna Krishna, give me Krishna. And Dhai Tava Pache Pache, we're running behind him, following his footsteps. But really we see that Sri Guru is coming to us. The Vaishnavas are coming to us. Nityananda Prabhu is going door to door. Ghare ghare bule prem, ami aravan. Dware dware giya. He's going from door to door and begging everyone, please, chant the name of Gauranga, chant the names of Krishna. So Guru Vaishnava are saying, Krishna, Krishna Boli. Boli, chant the name of Krishna. And they're coming behind us. Please, please. Why are they coming behind us? Because they cannot help themselves. Jiva duke sadartaya Sri Nama Prema Daine. Seeing our suffering, pitiful condition, they cannot help themselves because they are the embodiments, the condensed form of Krishna's mercy and compassion. They cannot tolerate to see our suffering. It's like their hearts bleed to see our suffering. So they want to get us out of our suffering by giving us the way out. And what is that? Sri Nama Prem. That you should have prem for Sri Harinam. So they're saying, chant the name of Krishna, chant the name of Krishna. Take Krishna. I want to give you Krishna. But although bhakti, Srila Gurudev said, is our birthright, our adhikar, our birthright, janma adhikar. Still, why is it so rare? He said because no one wants it. No one wants it. He said, I see that so many of my disciples are lying on the banks of the river. My mercy is flowing like Jamuna River. And they're lying on the banks dying of thirst because they will not drink. And he said, I'm like a pot mender going from village to village. Everyone in this world, through all of their millions of lifetimes, their hearts have been disappointed again and again, trying to give that thing which belongs to Krishna, love and affection, to temporary things of this world. Therefore, because it's temporary, it has an end. And that love becomes disappointed. So their hearts, which are like pots, have been shattered again and again. And so many broken pieces are there. He said, so I go from village to village and I call out, if anyone has a broken pot, you should come to me and I will fix it free of charge. And then I will fill it with nectar. And then he looked at us with tears in his eyes and he said, but no one is coming. If no one comes, then I will have to pack up my shop and go to the next village and call out. So there's something which Guru is doing, and there's something which we need to do. That relationship is a reciprocal relationship. It's not that we should just be like, okay, Gurudev, you do everything. You're like the mother cat and I'm like the baby and you'll just carry me everywhere. Mahaprabhu said both things are necessary. The cat logic and the baby monkey logic. The cat logic is dependent upon the mercy of Krishna. Mercy, the cat is carrying its baby everywhere. Monkey logic is the monkey has to hold on with both hands and both feet as his mom is jumping from tree to tree, building to building, and he has to hold on for dear life. Whether he's holding from the underside or on top, still he has to hold on. So both things are necessary. Our hard endeavor and the mercy of Krishna, and those two meet at that point where Krishna becomes bound. Two fingers too short, Mother Yashoda binds them. That is the cheshta, our hard endeavor, and Krishna's mercy. What is the time? 7:27. So I'll finish this paragraph here. The tendency of demons is to be greatly destructive, and now we see that the Vedas are also disappearing. The Vedas will not remain. They will disappear slowly. You won't be able to find the Bhagavatam, and such spiritual talks will disappear altogether eventually. You won't be able to find it. Gurudev said, what I'm giving is so rare and so valuable. He said in 100 years it will barely be, in 100 or 200 years, it will barely be able to be found anywhere. So we should take advantage of the time we have now, because we don't know where we'll be in 100 or 200 years, what birth we'll be in. So he said, eventually these talks and Bhagavatam will disappear altogether. The mood of Vrindavan and Mathura will change, and after some time, men will also change. That also means women, men and women. They won't respect Means people won't respect holy men and saints. And we see that going on now. They won't respect the Gita and the Bhagavatam. Like this, the Vedas had disappeared. And to protect them, another Meena incarnation appeared. So this Meena incarnation saved Satyavrata Muni, who had at that time offered a prayer known as the Damodarashtakam. Taking so many things with him, he stayed in the ocean for a long time, and the Vedas and scriptures were kept in his heart. So even though they physically disappeared, they were kept in his heart. Again, the dissolution was finished, and again, in the four directions, creation took place. So there is not just one Meena incarnation, but many. In Vaikuntha also there are different chambers suitable for their particular devotees. And Satyavrata Muni's worshipful Lord is this particular Meena incarnation. Now someone asked me a question the other day. It says that it is this particular Meena incarnation, but we look at Damodarashtakam and we see something different. So Srila Gurudev explained that in the beginning of Damodarashtakam, Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam, Satyavrata Muni is seeing the Aishwarya of the Lord. So he's witnessing the Narayan manifesting to him in the form of Meena, or the fish incarnation, Namam Ishwaram, glorifying him as the supreme controller. And then as you're going through, you see that he's starting to become more and more attracted to Balya Lila, the baby or childhood pastimes of Krishna. And then gradually he comes to the point of Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye Namo Nantalilaye Devaya Tubhyam, where he's acknowledging that I'm offering my pranam to your dearmost Srimati Radhika and your unlimited pastimes. So Srila Gurudev explained, and I'm going to use the words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj at this point, that there was a subjective evolution of consciousness which took place over millions of years. Damodarashtakam was not fully composed in one sitting. It was manifesting in his heart as Satyavrata Muni was doing intense meditation over a very long period of time, millions of years. And so starting with Namam Ishwaram, in full Aishwarya Bhav, gradually he came to taking shelter of Srimati Radhika. Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye Namo Nantalilaye Devaya Tubhyam. So we will stop here. Shri Satyavrata Muni ki jai, Shri Matsya ki jai, Shri Damodarashtakam ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Gurvarga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Shrirupan Gurudeva Guruvarga ki jai, Pati Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachirandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Shri Radha Vino Bihari Ji ki jai, Radha Raju ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Hari Rama Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Thank you all very much for being with us today, for giving us the opportunity to read and remember the beautiful instructions and the teachings of our Srila Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and for continuing to give us this opportunity to do our seva to Gurudev, the order which he has given us. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. And Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shivani
Radhe
Amakamani.
Radhe. Shivani Amadopo.